I had some big topics to share, but I feel like I want to be kind of specific and intentional with that topic. And what that is mindfulness. We hear this word all the time. Okay, just be mindful, mindfulness. If you're doing that, you probably have maybe a meditation practice. And in the teachings that I've learned and come from through Trikaya Buddhism, meditation and mindfulness go hand in hand. They are two sides of the same coin. You really don't do one and not do the other. So if you have a meditation practice in your life, ideally, you're utilizing some kind of mindfulness practice as well. And meditation is a very general way to talk about it. It's the time when we are seated and allowing ourselves to be present with whatever is happening. It's like this opening ourselves to awareness. And mindfulness is everything off the meditation cushion. And that's a lot. So I know that's a very big topic, but I kind of want to hone in on just some very specific things that I have utilized mindfulness in my life for, as well as seen other people utilize it and what it gains them and how it benefits their life. Because like I said, there's so much talk about mindfulness. You're like, well, what does it do? Like, is it a hammer? Can I use it to hammer a nail? What is it exactly? So mindfulness is this incredible discipline of being able to manage our mind. I don't even want to say control, because sometimes we think we have control, but really we don't. So it's really this management of mind that comes through focus, concentration, and the awareness of what it is you're doing that you no longer maybe want to do. So an example of utilizing mindfulness is whenever the anger state gets triggered. Now, I kind of smile when I mention the word anger state, because my sensei uses this in my dojo. And funny, not funny, you really can experience this when you're training in martial arts, this anger state, which is when someone you're working with as another partner, training partner, and they're not being really nice. They're not being really nice. They maybe are adding a little extra to the technique that makes your body feel just a little bit more in pain or hurt or whatever it is. This triggers the anger state. And how, if you guys can think about it in your life, maybe it's not in a martial arts world, but think of moments where anger state literally gets triggered in your mind. So I'll notice this when I'm on the martial arts mat. And usually it's because my body is already, experienced a certain amount of physical discomfort. If I'm in a good training partner, I'm trying to help facilitate this technique, right? And getting thrown and getting pinned. So when that level of discomfort increases to the point where it feels maybe unnecessary, like the person's just doing a little extra, maybe they don't even know it, right? They're just adding a little extra muscle, and you're like, okay, stop. The usual thing in the martial arts mat is you tap, and you're like, okay, I'm done, right? And that is the healthy way to communicate on the martial arts mat, where the other person can then respond and release the pin, the throw, whatever is happening. They just know that you've hit your limit, right? So seeing this equation as a template to look at, when an anger state gets triggered within ourselves, we have to speak up and do something. If an anger state gets triggered in me and I'm on the martial arts mat and I get more and more upset at working with this partner because they're hurting me, right, beyond what my physical body feels like it can tolerate, and I'm not tapping out, I'm not saying something, I'm not speaking up, I'm just stuffing it down because I feel like I want to be tough and strong, right? my teacher talks about this word called it's stuffering. You're stuffing your emotions and then you're suffering because of it. So this is the opposite of mindfulness practice, because mindfulness practice essentially is to hone our awareness, our focus, and our intention, allowing us to pull from whatever tools we need in our toolbox to skillfully address that situation in a way where it allows us to be able to ideally maintain our peace, balance, sense of harmony, a sense of that harmony. I think of, it's not necessarily that you don't ever go into the anger state. It's maybe you go in, but it doesn't last 2 days that you're upset about something, you're thinking about it and ruminating about it over and over again. That this mindfulness practice inserts itself in such a way that you don't even hold on to the anger state for 2 hours. It becomes 2 minutes, it becomes 2 seconds, and it passes. Right? And you've moved on in a way of rebalancing yourself into that balanced state, that you can then let the anger state go and move forward with, and in my words, a greater success of living life. It is so depleting and exhausting when we engage in the anger state and stay in it. That's the key thing. I don't think anyone in the world ever gets not triggered into the anger state. I think it happens, but how do we mindfully address it in such a way that it doesn't last 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, 2 lifetimes, God forbid, right? That instead it becomes refined to the point where it's 2 minutes, 20 seconds, right? And you've moved, you can move beyond it. And that skill is incredibly powerful in the world that we live in today, because it's very easy to get triggered into the anger state. And when I think of anger, I think of it as a secondary emotion in the world of psychology. It's number 2. So anger, when it's presented outwardly, people think, oh my gosh, that's the first thing that's happened. Maybe it's really, really loud and looks really big, so it looks like it's the first thing that's happening. But actually, anger is number 2. It's never number 1. What is number 1 usually in these big containers of the number 1 is some form of fear or some form of pain. Right? And fear can be endless, of whatever it is that is individual or specific to you, right? And that pain is also very individual and specific to you. But a general one I'm referencing, right, in the martial arts world is physical pain. That is a legit form of pain, right? When your joints are hurting and you're getting twisted and turned away, it's not comfortable, right? And this is the whole realm of martial arts and so forth like that. But we train in a healthy, safe way. That's the idea with tapping and having rules and etiquette around how we approach training. But even with all those rules and etiquette, just like we have in society and culture, you follow these rules, traffic rules, driving rules, right? That there's still individuals or still situations you meet where you're just like, the anger state comes out, right? Because recognizing first, this is our mindfulness practice, our responsibility to see when it's come up, what is happening in the number 1 position, right? What possible pain are we feeling? Emotional pain, right? There's physical pain, like I mentioned, and there's absolutely also energetic pain. As we go on this practice and we become sensitive enough, there is a certain energetic pain that we can experience. And it makes me think of, if you're at that level of sensitivity, like myself, there are things that I choose not to do because I know that my sensitivity level will not feel good afterwards. Like, I don't choose to go watch horror movies. I'm like, okay, I'm good. No, thank you. Or if I go to historical sites, if there's been a place where that has had tremendous suffering, I choose not to go there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go walk over here in this nice park. You guys go enjoy that. And everyone's individual preferences and attunement to that sensitivity on all levels, mental, emotional, and energetic, is specific to you, right? For something that is not so feeling wonderful for me, my husband or something, or my friends I'm going with, they'll like have no issue, right? So this mindfulness practice allows us to tune into what it is we need. And then the next step is absolutely saying something so we're not suffering our emotions or our pain or fear, right? I think sometimes in this weird ego mind, it thinks like if I stuff it down or not talk about it right now, it'll go away. It won't be that bad. And this avoidance piece can kind of fuel into the suffering of like ignorance, right? Where we're not actively engaging or being proactive with that. So with that anger state thing, when we are able to be skillfully moving through it, and just another, side thought, please do your own research on this. And I thought it was so fascinating when I did hear this, is that this emotion affects so many of our mind body systems resources. They were saying like research shows that if you are in a state of anger for 2 hours and then afterwards you get out of it and you move on with your day, that it's been measured where it takes another 7 hours for your body to rebalance itself fully. Because after the effects of the 2 hours of anger, there's like brain fog thinking, your immune system actually, from going into that super fight mode, is actually not in this like ability to be healthy and reparative and in a very like a whole way. It's like resources has been depleted and it's like working at a deficit. So your immune system isn't working or isn't on defense, if you will. And then like all these things can allow our systems to be susceptible, these openings, right, to bacteria, colds, whatever it is. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what an incentive for us to really work on this anger state of ours, because it's so easy to just let anger, like fire burn through a forest. And it's like, oh, wow, that was crazy. That was not good. I feel bad. I'm sorry, to all the people that we might have hurt, right? And then it's like, oh, okay. And we just keep walking along the forest, right? It's easy to do that. And I say that kind of, if that makes sense. It's like it takes a lot more work to be able to go back to that section of that forest that's been burned and be like, okay, what do I need to do to replant it, to rebuild it, resoil, right? These you can see it even in the world today when they work on kind of the reforestation process. It's difficult, challenging work. And the time and energy we go to heal those aspects, I feel like brings an even greater awareness and appreciation to ourselves of like, ooh, I really have to be careful with my anger state. There's this other beautiful monk teacher. I feel like he's a brother from another lifetime. He mentions it so well. He's like, anger is like, this emotion of anger is like you've chopped wood, firewood, the whole year, to be able to store and have enough firewood and kindling to keep you warm through the winter season, right? But the emotion and the mentality and the psychology of anger takes all that firewood and burns it in one night. And then you have nothing for the rest of the winter to keep yourself warm. Like that's the depth of how depleted these resources can be, right? So going back to that kind of martial arts metaphor of this anger state getting triggered, it happens quite a bit on this mat, especially when I'm working with younger students and I'm trying to help them with their belt ranking, right? So this intention is very pure, this beautiful goal of like, okay, I want to get my next belt level because I want to better myself. I want to better my technique. But through that refinement process, there's a lot of probably more than likely rough edges that we have to go through, right? It doesn't feel so smooth. So this is a learning, growing phase. And if I'm on the other end being the body dummy moving through all these things, sometimes it hurts a lot, right? So being able to speak up and like, okay, that hurt, right? That's too much. Adjust, use your communication. The other thing is bowing out. Sometimes taking a rest day and not training, right, gives your body the ability to heal and rebalance itself on its own. I'm sharing these as ways for you to consider in mindful tools that you can implement into your life when you are getting triggered in that anger state. People talk about, okay, removing yourself from that situation sometimes. Yes, that's sometimes not always possible, right? Sometimes you're like, oh crap, I'm going to be sitting in this for a little bit, or this situation, this environment. So techniques that can come up, like I'm mentioning, is communication in these healthy ways. I have seen usually really work when there's a trust in the relationship, right? So if I'm having some form of pain or discomfort, right, and I voice this with my husband, there is a level of trust that whatever I'm coming forward with in this open, honest, vulnerable state, I'm not getting more, more pain added on to that, right? And this is not a very linear equation, right? This has a very circular aspect. It's not just, okay, I'm giving you A, add in B, and then it's going to equal C. Because if I'm being honest, how often have I gone to my husband, like, I'm feeling really sensitive today. I feel like I just need to take some time down to just read or journal, whatever it is, right? And he's like, okay, but we got invitation to go eat at our friend's house. Do you want to go? And I'm like, right. And we get torn. And then I go, and then it's like, I want to leave early, right? So there are things that life is complicated, right? And then afterwards, we're driving home, like, I'm in my anger state. Why do we have to take so long? I don't want to spend all this time with those many people. I wanted to just stay home, right? And we have to take responsibility that I made that choice. I genuinely made that choice to go and enjoy dinner with friends, right? And when it became overwhelming to me, right? And I wanted to leave early, but then it was like, oh, we've only, half an hour in. This is not going to look good, right? Then this is my responsibility to take care of myself. So we take these as data points so that the next time some similar scenario situation comes up, it might sound like, oh, okay, I'm kind of feeling sensitive. I feel like I kind of want to just have some time to myself today because I had a really busy week, right? Okay, fine. Friends, and then the husband comes and, oh, we've been invited to dinner. Let's, did you want to go? And usually now the conversation entails a couple follow-up questions of what time, how many people are going to be there, how long do you plan on staying there, right? And if all those questions kind of filter out into what feels good to me, it's like, okay, yes, I can go, right? And continue that healthy communication that would look like, which also sound like healthy boundaries. Are you okay? If we leave by 9 o'clock latest, just because I want to make sure I get back home in time so I can sleep, right? A good amount of sleep, whatever it is. Okay, sure. And if the conversation is, oh, I don't want to leave that early, right? Then okay, maybe I'll take my own car. I'll take a separate car, right? And I'm saying this, and hopefully you can see this underlying piece around the mindfulness and managing anger state is this responsibility that we take for ourselves sometimes feels like it's more quote unquote work, right? We might have to separate ourselves from the group and find our own ride or navigate certain things on our own. And even though it may seem more work to take care of that, because it's easy, right? In the form of our ego, it's easy to follow the crowd and just like, oh, you're doing that, okay, I'll go with you. It's because the groove is already being paved in the pathway. And to go off on our own when we need to is paving our own hiking route, if you will, or hiking trail. And if you've been in really intense hiking trails with a lot of brush, going off the trail is not easy. It's a lot of work, right? So, and please don't go off trails when we're hiking. It's not for the environment. Stay off the hiking trails, please. But the metaphor, right? That even though it can feel like more work to take care of ourselves, guess what happens? We infinitely and exponentially benefit from our responsibility in taking healthy care of our mind, body, spirit. Because when we take healthy care, I don't know about you, but when I find myself taking really good care of myself, I not only feel good, I have more energy. I feel more generous in my ability to share time and spend time with people, right? Whether that's strangers, whether that's loved ones, whether that's friends. And the quality of the time I'm spending with them is meaningful. It feels deep. It feels enriching. It doesn't feel like forced, superficial. It kind of cuts through all that stuff so that for myself, I really enjoy quality of things, right? I went through my phase of quantity being a better thing. I've now come into this quality. I see quality. You know, when I was younger and getting my allowance, it was awesome to go into the dollar store and see how much things I can buy, right? The quantity was like, yes, this is awesome. But as I've moved on in my stage of life, I really focus on quality. And so when we are actively practicing mindfulness, where we are staying aware of what it is we need, when we're staying aware where, oh, I think some anger state is getting triggered. And a good piece that I've used for myself is when I start to feel irritable. When I start feeling a little irritable and I feel agitated, like, oh, okay, what is it that I need? Have I not eaten? Has it been too long? Am I starting getting angry? That's a anger state trigger, right? Is it okay? I'm feeling like I'm stressing myself out or putting stress on myself, rushing myself to do things, and I need to maybe do one less thing take it off my to-do list today, right? Do I need to move my body because it's just been sitting too long in front of the computer? I just need to be outside and get some sunshine. So when we stay mindful of this specific anger state or like the irritable symptoms that come up, and we address it with whatever it is we need, oh my gosh, it's so powerful. I share that with you, and I hope you try to use that and implement that in your science experiment of life. Because do not take my word for it. Go practice it and have your own experience around it. Where the whole week I'll be like, oh my gosh, I've just had such an awesome week. And that's almost like unheard of because there's all this, social media and the news that just add in all this negativity. It's like, how did that happen? It feels almost miraculous, right? And this is not to say again that I never feel the anger state. It's never to say that I don't feel irritable, right? But I am so tuned in because of all the data from the past, right? Anger states, irritable states, I come to know, okay, I want to go train tonight at, martial arts. It's the usual class I love going. Well, I'm feeling like this. Am I in the right state to go to train where it would be healthy and supportive for me? Right? Or am I already so irritable, agitated? I need to do my own activity and just go for a jog and be by myself and have no one touch me to put me in some kind of joint lock that adds more pain, right? So mindfulness and utilizing our focus, our awareness and attention to essentially be disciplined around giving ourselves what we need to be able to allow ourselves to reap all the positive rewards from that. I think sometimes our mind doesn't even realize it's possible. I think just specifically because of all the conditioning in the world today. But I'm here to say it's possible. So try that. Try it in your life and have some experiences that maybe you can bring back next time and share with me. Yeah. I'll before I go into the meditation, I'll share this one last story. I'll recall this one moment. I can't remember, maybe it was a couple years ago. And this has been a lot of years of practicing meditation and mindfulness. And it was just a couple years ago. I remember I was hanging the laundry outside because it was warm enough and it just dries it better that way. And I was feeling really irritated and agitated and angry and upset about some conversation with my husband. Can't remember, right? That's just how life is. I literally can't remember. I just felt like he was poking at me and I was like, no, I don't like this. So I was hanging the laundry in this genuine state of anger. I was very upset. I was very grumpy. And I had this moment as I was lifting one of the clothes to put on the line. I was like, so upset. I'm so pissed. And this is why. And I had a moment of like literally where there was a space between the thoughts. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. And in that space, it was like in this moment of just like watching in a third person and not feeling that anger actively, but just what before I jumped into the next moment of anger again to like keep going. I was like, wait, I'm so angry right now. Do I want to be angry? No. Can I do something to change that anger? Yep. I'm like literally in that space by the time I leaped to the next angry emotion, angry thought. I was like, I don't want to be angry anymore. Okay. And even though I felt that next wave of like angry emotion hit me, because I had made that choice that I didn't want to be angry anymore because I didn't like how it was feeling, I then took action on changing that direction of that waving motion, right? So it's not necessarily pushing back on the anger. What I did for myself is I took the mindfulness tip of stating 12 things I'm grateful for. I like 12 because I think of the numbers on a clock, but also it's 12 is a long enough number as I'm stating things I'm grateful for, where it literally shifts the misalignment in the brain, the chemical reaction, whatever you want to call it, into another direction. So even though I felt all that anger and I still wanted to be upset, I was like, okay, what are 12 things I'm grateful for? And I'm feeling grumpy. I'm feeling angry, right? So what do I start with? I was like, oh. And of course, that's how it starts. It literally starts. It starts with, oh, okay, got to think of something good, right? Literally how it starts. I can't remember what I listed, but probably something like, I'm grateful I have clean clothes, right? Because I'm hanging up the laundry. I'm grateful that it's sunny outside because that's how come I can't hang up the laundry, right? So I'm grateful for the sunshine. And then it goes on, right? Like I'm grateful I can breathe, I can stand here, and then I'm grateful for this, this, this. And after listing 12 things nonstop, guess what? I don't no longer am in that anger state. Is there absolutely the echo back there? Absolutely. And can I go and pick up that echo of anger state and start it all over again? Absolutely. But that mindfulness practice, that discipline is, I went through 12 genuine things I was grateful for. Probably at some point later on down the list, I did say I was grateful for my husband too, right? And then I was like, okay, now I'm really done. And then we can move forward. And that is as a way of talking about it, how we can shift out of our anger state through mindfulness practice.